Okay, today we're going to look at automating the mix using control surfaces. So the first thing you need to do is go to the Logic 9 files, and in the lessons folder select 10 LVL home. Select that session and open it up, and please, the first thing you do, remember to save it into file save as to your own location, so that you don't save over the original template. Okay, so please do that before you start doing any editing or touching the session, please. And so we're going to look at automating the mix state in Logic, and a little bit on using control surfaces. You're limited a little bit to the control surfaces that you've got, but you've got some parameters on your MIDI controller keyboards in front of you, so we'll look at that and how you can use it. So in Logic you can automate almost all the controls on a channel strip, including volume, pan, and all plug-in parameters. So in this lesson, you're going to draw and edit offline automation to play a snare at different volumes in verses and choruses, create a decrescendo on a pair of group guitars, and pan a sound effect from left to right. And then you're going to record live automation using the mouse, bypassing a plugin and tweaking its parameters remotely using knobs on the control surface to do so. Okay, so creating and editing offline automation. What do you mean by that? Well, in Logic, the techniques used to create and edit track-based automation closely resemble Hyperdraw, which you'll remember is the graphic editing section for programming and editing MIDI, which we looked at in the video of that title. So while Hyperdraw allows you to automate MIDI CC parameters in a region, that's MIDI continuous controller parameters, track automation lets you automate almost any channel strip controls, so including all plug-in sliders, knobs, and bypasses, and to do so independently of the regions on the track. So drawing automation graphically is also known as offline automation, because it's independent of the playhead position and can be performed while Logic is stopped and not in play mode. So when you need accurate control over the volume of an instrument in specific sections of the song, drawing offline automation over the waveform gives you a surgical precision without the pressure of performing fader movements in real time. Although we will look at that later on. So we're going to create an offline volume automation on the snare track so that it plays softer during the verses. Okay, so if you listen to the snare, which is where is it, on track 6 here, it's really sharp and sounds quite a lot busier in some sections, such as the choruses, but it's a little too loud and distracting during the verses. So we're going to automate the snare volume to remedy this. So in the toolbar, we're going to click the automation button, which is up here. You can also access that by pressing A on your keyboard. Okay, in the arrange area, tracks need to be tall enough to display their automation data, so the arrange area is automatically zoomed in vertically. In the automation parameter menu on the track header, you can choose the parameter to be displayed in the automation track, a transparent grey area overlaid on the track. So obviously here we've got volume, but as you can see there are other things we can choose. At the moment we're just going to look at volume. And we can see here this is our automation level at the moment, which you can see on the snare is at a minus 11.2 dB. Okay, so let's zoom out of that. Okay. While it can be useful in some cases to view the automation tracks for all of the tracks, in this case you need to automate only the snare track. You can use Auto Track Zoom to automatically expand the height of the selected track that you've got, thereby displaying the automation data only on the selected track. So in the toolbar we're going to click the automation button to hide the automation tracks. Okay, so if we click that, it hides them again. And the arrange area returns to its previous vertical zoom level. In the toolbar, if we click the auto zoom button, okay, which you will find next to the automation button here, or press. We can also press Control Z, and that will basically expand that one area, so we can zoom in just on that one particular track, one track at a time. Okay, so it expands vertically, and all other tracks retain their original vertical zoom level, so we can just focus on the one. So let's press A on our keyboards again to bring up the automation, so we can see that we're more zoomed in. And we're going to click the snare track header to make sure that all of that region is selected and we're on in the right place. And the snare track is selected and zoomed in vertically, as we can see. You can see the snares volume automation track and its automation parameter menu in the snare track header. So in the automation track, a horizontal black line indicates the current volume of the track, which we just noticed was a minus 11.2 dB. What we're going to do is we're going to Option Control drag to zoom in on the snare track around the verse 1 section. So we can see where verse 1 is. It's just up here, and we're just going to choose Option Control, just drag around roughly around where that verse section is. Okay, so we're zoomed into that. So if we zoom in on the first few snare hits at the beginning of the verse, so Option Control, just going to drag in the first kind of 4, 5, whatever. We zoom in on those. Okay, using your waveform reading skills, you will notice that the last snare before the verse, which is this one here, just before the verse, is a reversed snare. We can see it's a mirror image of, well, similar to a mirror image of the other snares. It's a reversed snare. And so we're going to drop the snare volume level after that reversed snare plays. You can edit track-based automation using the same drawing techniques you learned when creating hyperdraw automation of MIDI CC events in the previous lesson on programming MIDI. So just after the reverse snare that leads into the verse, we're going to click the black line to create a new node just after that point. Okay, so here's the black line down here. Just going to click just after that. Okay, the node is created and the yellow volume and automation line appears. When you create the first automation node on a track, the automation mode automatically switches from off to read, which we can see over here. It's switched from off to read in the track header. Okay, because it's reading now. The automation was off before for the track, and now it's reading the changes that you're making. Okay, that's why it changes to read. So that the next time you play the project, the volume automation you create will be read by the level fader. You can see the automation mode of the selected track on its channel strip and track header, as so we can see here on the channel strip and on the track header here as read. Okay, and that's its status. And we can also see the automation mode there, which is volume. Okay, so what I want you to do now is hold down the mouse button slightly below the yellow automation line and to the right of the node you just created, but before the first snare in the verse. And then drag the new node down to minus 16.4. Okay, so we're going to just somewhere around here, just click, and now we've got a new node down here, and we're just going to make sure it's at minus 16.4. So I just need to take that back up a little bit. Okay, and I can't quite get to minus 16.4. So what I need to do is I need to hold down that node, and I need to hold down Shift and Control to give me to disable snapping and give me a little bit more versatility over that. And now you'll see I can go down in increments of tenths of a decibel. And then she'll learn 16.4 and then let go. Okay, so you've reduced the volume just before the verse. Now you need to create 2 more nodes at the end of the verse to return the volume to its original level for the following chorus. So we're going to Option Control click in the background to return to the previous zoom level. So the background is up here. Let's Option Control. Actually, the background is here. Click. There we go. And so we need to zoom in on this last part just before the chorus comes in. Okay, we need to return this back to its normal level. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a node just before that comes in, and then another node round about where the chorus is, and I'm just going to drag that back up to -11.2. Okay, a little bit fiddly. Remember, you can use Shift and Control if you can't get it exactly precise, just to get that exactly right. Okay, so when trying to create a node close to an existing node, you may accidentally click the existing node and delete it. If this happens, hold down the mouse button a little further to the right of the existing node and then drag the new node to the desired position, so it will drag it back, you know, if that happens. But if you're zoomed in to the right level, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so you've changed the level of the snare, so it drops to -16.4 during the verse 1 and then returns to -11.2 at the beginning of the chorus. So we're now going to create the same automation in verse 2, okay, just to get used to it. So we're going to scroll to the right until you see the entire verse 2. Okay, so let's just use our slider here. There's a fill. Oh, there's the verse 2. And actually what I'm going to do is just drag this side of my slider until I see all of verse 2. Does it go just there? Okay. This time you'll use a new technique with the marquee tool to quickly set a different volume for a section of the song. So remember to press Command to use the marquee tool. Remember our Command tool up here, we can see it up here, is at the moment the marquee tool. Okay, and that's what we're going to use. Okay, if we press Command, it turns into our marquee tool. So in verse 2, we're going to drag the marquee tool from just before the first snare to just after the last snare. So we're going to hold down Command and just before the first snare to just after the last snare. There we go. We don't need that one because that's the first snare of the chorus. We got that selection there. Okay. You can now adjust the volume of the selection by vertically dragging the horizontal line within the marquee selection. So you're just going to drag down the horizontal line within the marquee selection to -16.4. So get somewhere, get on the line, drag it down. There you go. And that's a much quicker way of doing it if you want it for a whole section, and you know you want it for a whole section. Okay, -16.4, done. Okay, as you drag the line down, you can see the two nodes created on each end of the marquee selection. So the dragging automation line adjusts the volume only for that within that selection that you've made. Let's option click in the background to zoom out again. Okay, so option click in the background, zoom out again, and if you start the playback just before the first verse, you can hear that on the left arranged channel strip. Well, you can see on the left-hand channel strip the fader automation that you just created, and you can notice the softer snare is in the verse. So have a listen to that to listen to the effects that it has. And then we're going to move on to the next bit, which is creating a decrescendo with volume automation. So here we're going to create a slow decrescendo on the heavy guitars track to evolve the timbre of the guitar drop section. It will start with an assault of aggressively distorted guitars, then the guitars will slowly fade out during the section, leaving some space in the mix for the synths that start playing a melody and later a chord progression. So we're going to select the heavy guitars track, which is track 10. Okay. Now I can click in the background here somewhere and I can press Z to zoom out full. Let's click track 10 and immediately it zooms in to track 10. So if you listen to the guitar drop section starting around bar 69, while the guitars come in at the beginning of the guitar drop section, they are supported by two more guitar tracks playing an octave lower in tracks 11 and 22. Okay, there's another one there, and just down there we can see, well, doesn't appear to be one. Okay, but there definitely is some in 11 and 12. Okay, so which creates a strong impact. Okay, the mix is very sparse at that point, so the guitars fill the entire sound field. Then the drum beat and the synths return at bar 79. At bar 87, so around about here, at bar 87, the synth starts playing a melodic riff. So where's the synth? The synth is here, and it starts playing a melodic line. Okay, and this is joined by another high-pitched synth. You can hear an evolution from the very aggressive guitars at the beginning of the section to the more musical synths at the end. However, the guitars play the same rhythm at the same volume throughout the whole section, and they're fighting with the melodic synths at the end of the section. So we're going to create a decrescendo on the heavy guitars to slowly make space for the dreamier synth melodies at the end of the section to sort of punch through the mix, okay, and come out. So we're changing the whole sound of that mix by using automation to change the character of that section. Okay, if we click the black horizontal line at the beginning of the first heavy guitars region to create a node at the current volume of -5.3, which we can see here. So just before, actually click the horizontal line at the beginning of the first heavy guitars region. So just there. Okay, so it's at 5.3. Okay. Before you create the decrescendo, you're going to create another node at the current volume level before the next heavy guitars region on the track. Okay, this is the next region here. Click one there. Okay, this will ensure that the next region on that track plays at -5.3. So we're going to click the yellow volume automation line after the end of the first heavy guitars region, but before the next region on the track. Okay, so we're going to click the yellow volume automation line after the end of the first heavy guitars region, but before the next region on the track. So somewhere around here. Okay, and let's just undo that. So we're going to click it. So we've got another node. Okay, and you can now draw a crescendo over the first heavy guitars region without worrying about changing the volume automation of the remaining regions on the track to the right of that region. Okay, so we're going to create a node at the end of the first heavy guitars region before the last node you just created, and then drag it all the way down. Okay, so I've created the node there, so do the same. I'm going to drag it all the way down. Okay, so you can now add a curve to the decrescendo to make it a little bit slower at the beginning and faster towards the end of the drop. So we're going to shift control, which disables the snap. Shift control, and you can see a little squirgly curve symbol comes up underneath the arrow. I'm just going to drag that up like that. Okay, and we can adjust where that happens. We're going to have it sort of slowly coming out and then a little bit faster towards the end, just like that. Okay, so that section evolves nice and slowly, and it starts with the guitars playing loudly, and then they slowly fade out as the synths start playing. Let's just have a little listen to that. So now you can hear that it's starting to fade out. Okay, and that synth starts coming in. You see this synth here starts coming in. And there's another synth here. And now it's all about the synths. Okay. You still hear the guitar, but by the time that guitar has stopped, you can hardly hear it anyway, and the whole section's changed, and you can hear the synths. Okay, so let's look at creating pan automation. So this can be a fun way to create movement in your mix, moving a sound from one side of the stereo field to the other. It's a powerful effect that calls attention to the automated sound, but when used in moderation can add life to the sound effect. Okay, you don't want to overdo it. We're now going to draw some offline pan automation on the first sound effect after the intro, making it move from the left speaker to a position slightly right of the centre. So we're going to select track 7, okay, was this one, Perk Effects, and you can use the automation parameter menu in the track header to choose the parameter you want to automate, and we're going to choose pan, so we're going to select pan from there, okay. So we're going to zoom in on the first region, so let's Control Alt zoom in on that region, and the black horizontal line at the top of the pan indicates the current pan position, which is -64, which is all the way to the left. So we're going to create a node on the black horizontal line at the beginning of the region, so just at that black line just there, you can see it says -64, okay. Okay, so we're going to create a node around the middle of the region and drag it down to +20. So around the middle of the region, say around there, I'm going to drag it down to +20. So over the middle line, which is the center position, down to +20, like that. Okay, so your new pan automation will move the sound effect from the left speaker to its new position slightly to the right. As we go down, we go left to right. Okay. But here the pan automation is a little slow, okay? And we can make it happen quickly so that the effect will be more obvious. If we drag the node slightly to the left, then obviously that pan will happen quicker. Okay. So let's just zoom out. So click in the background of the arrange area, holding down Control Alt and then click, and that zooms us back out. Okay, we're going to look at recording live automation now. So while all offline automation is a good option when you know in advance what automation movements you want to achieve, you sometimes want to hear the song playing as you adjust the controls of a channel strip or a plugin window in real time. So to record live automation, you need to choose a live automation mode for the tracks that you want to automate, and then start playback and tweak the desired controls on the channel strip. So we're going to look at recording automation in what's called touch mode first. So in touch mode, any existing automation on the track will be read as in read mode. As soon as you hold down the mouse button on a knob or slider, its automation is recorded. When you release the mouse button, touch mode behaves like read mode again, and the automation parameter returns to its original value or reproduces any existing automation on the track. So in this exercise, we're going to slowly fade in a synth in the dropkick section, returning it to its original value when the snare enters. So we're going to select the Virus 747A track, which is track 13. And if we listen to the beginning of the dropkick section starting at bar 29, let's zoom in on that section actually, just so we know where we are. The dropkick section is here. And if you listen to that section, the Virus synth comes in suddenly at bar 33. Okay, and we can hear that. Let's just hear that quickly. Okay, it comes in quite suddenly, so we're going to create a slow crescendo that so that the synth slowly fades in, reaching its full volume as the snare starts on bar 41. So in the Virus 747A track header, we're going to set the automation mode to touch. So here, where normally we'd have read or off, we're going to select touch. Okay, it lights up orange. Okay, so you don't need to put Logic in record mode to record live automation. You only need to put the track in one of the live automation modes and start playback. So when you record automation in touch mode, hold down the mouse button until you want the parameter to return to its original level. So in this case, after you hear the first reverse snare. We're going to zoom in on the group of Virus regions in the dropkick section from bar 33 to bar 49, like I've done. Since you will now record live automation as the song is playing back, you may want to first read steps 5 through to 9. Okay, so we're going to look at those steps first and then actually try it. Okay, so step 5 is this. you start playback at the beginning of the dropkick section, and step 6, on the left arranged channel strip, we're going to drag the volume fader. So the left arranged channel strip here, we're going to drag the volume fader all the way down, but don't release the mouse button. Okay, so just at the start of the dropkick section, we're going to drag it all the way down so that it's all the way down here at nothing. Okay, before this comes in. Okay, and you can see the volume fader movements begin recording in the Virus 747 volume automation track as you do that, because we're automating it using the volume slider over here. Okay, when the playhead reaches the beginning of the first Virus region, so just here, we're going to slowly drag the volume fader up to create the crescendo. Okay, try to time your crescendo so that the level is almost back to the original level at -7 dB when it reaches the beginning of the snare region. So where is the snare region? Can we see that? Okay, the reverse snare is just there at bar 40 to 41. Okay, so let's do that then. So we're going to start our playback at the beginning of the dropkick section. So just start it there, and I'm just going to press spacebar. Okay, and then I'm going to drag my volume down and gradually drag it up so that it reaches roughly -7 by the time it gets to bar 40. Okay, so here we go. Press play. Okay, so you can see what's happened there is I took my finger off the mouse just here, so that when I did that, when I took my finger off the mouse at the end, it returned back to the previous level, which was what it was here. So if I undo that and undo that bit, let's start that again. Okay, so I'm going to start back from the dropkick section, and we're just going to, actually, if I just take that back. Okay, and we take this to -7. Okay, and I'm just going to start at the dropkick section here and play it back. Okay, so there you go. So I'll let go of it, and it's roughly right. It's not perfect. I could probably go and adjust some of these nodes, which I can do individually if I zoom in on those. But it's one way of using your controls in a more creative way, in a more tactile way, rather than just trying to draw them in. Because obviously I can get very detailed rises and falls. Here you can see I've kind of stepped upwards rather than getting a gradual climb. And you might want that depending on which sections you're trying to increase at a time. Okay. So at the end of the crescendo, where you release the mouse button, you can see the volume automation jump back to the original level, as we can see there at -7. If you're not happy with the crescendo or any particular section, you can stay in touch mode and correct the automation again. Okay, so let's correct it now to start the crescendo a little later in the section. Okay, so we're going to start the playback before the first automation node on the track, and as long as you don't touch it, the level fader reproduces the volume automation on the track. When the level fader is all the way down in the infinity position, the pointer over it, position the pointer over it and hold down the mouse button. As soon as you start holding down the mouse button, a node is created and the position of the fader overwrites the existing volume. Okay, so we can just go back here, press play, and do it again. Okay, so you can go over and try it again, and you don't have to do undo. You can just go back and adjust those automation, the automation there in touch mode by just going back in and playing it again and overwriting it using the volume fader. Okay, that's one thing we can do. Okay, let's also look at another mode now. Okay, so we can look at recording automation in latch mode. Latch mode works much the same way as touch mode, except that when you release the mouse button, the automation continues to be recorded. Okay, so when you release the mouse button, the automation continues to be recorded and the parameter stays the same value as you leave it. If automation is already present for that parameter on the track, the automation is overwritten until you stop playback. So it latches, it stays where it is. So we're going to use latch mode to record pan automation on the Virus 747A synth without the need to hold down the mouse button. Okay, so we're going to start the playback at the beginning of the drop kick section. Okay, so if we just click in the bar ruler there, at the start of the drop kick section. If you listen to the Virus 747A track, it repeats the same 4-bar melody 4 times. Although the new crescendo makes the first 4-bar melody barely audible. So we're going to try to time your pan control movements to place each successive 4-bar melody on opposite sides of the stereo sound field. Even though you don't need to display automation tracks to record live automation, you will now display the Virus 747A's track's pan automation track to look at the pan automation as you record it. Okay, so rather than choose pan from the automation parameter menu, you can open up a second automation track for the same track. So that way you can still watch your volume automation as you record the pan automation. How do we do that, you might ask? Okay, in the lower left corner of the Virus 747A track header, we can click a little disclosure triangle we can see down here. Okay, and in there we can choose a second parameter, which we're going to choose as pan. Okay, so then in the track header, we're going to choose the latch mode from the automation menu. Okay, so up here we're going to change it from touch to latch. Okay. And on the left arrange channel strip, we're going to set the balance control to -20. Okay, down here. -20, like that, in order to pan the synth to the left. In the automation track, notice that the black horizontal line indicating the current position moves up to -20. If you start playback at the beginning of the dropkick section, when you hear the synth start to fade in, wait for the end of a 4-bar melody, and quickly drag up the pan to the pan control to about +20, and then release the mouse button. So let's go through that again. So when you hear the synth start to fade in on this track here, you're going to wait for the end of a 4-bar melody. It's all in 4-bar melodies. And then you're going to quickly drag up the pan control in your header here to about +20, and then release the mouse button. Okay? And what I want you to do is do that for each 4-bar melody. But there is actually a quicker way of doing it. We can do that. But another way we can do it is we can press play, and then we can, as it's playing, we can tap into our pan control here, and we can just type in 20, which will result in a plus 20 reading, or minus 20, which will result in a minus 20 reading. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press play, and then for every 4 bars, I'm just going to at the point which I'm going to let it play, and as it's playing the 4 bars, I'm going to tap in minus 20 or plus 20 to vary it on each of those, and then as soon as it's about to reach the end of that 4 bar, I'll press enter on my keyboard so that reading starts exactly at that point, and that way you'll get a more accurate reading. Okay, so let's just try that. Here we go. Okay, press. Okay, so that way you can get a more accurate reading, but by all means use the volume slider to go up and down if you think you can do it faster. Okay, you won't though, so you'll probably be better off just trying that method that I just showed you, because it's much quicker and easier than the one they use in the Logic book. Okay, but that way we've got pan changes exactly on the points where we want them to happen every 4 bars. Okay, so that's latch mode. Okay, let's set the automation mode back to read for the moment. So change it from latch to read, and we're going to look at recording plug-in bypass automation. Okay, so like a guitar player engaging with a distortion pedal to play a solo, sometimes you'll want to use an effect plugin for only specific sections of a song. So automating the plug-in bypass allows you to turn the effect on and off at a particular position in the song. So we're going to automate the bypass of a distortion plugin on a synth track, turning off the plugin when the vocals enter to give them more space in the mix. So we're going to select track 18. Okay, let's just disclose that. We go down and we're going to select track 18 down here, which will bring it up. And we're going to zoom in on the group of regions at the end of the verse 2. Okay, so let's just go along. There's a group of regions, the end of verse 2. We're already kind of zoomed in on them. We can zoom in on further if we want. Okay. If you start playback before the group of regions at around about bar 145, the first small region at the end of bar 146, this one here, sounds good as it punctuates the drum and also the guitar fills. But then after bar 147, that synth starts fighting for attention with the vocals. So we're going to bypass the Bit Crusher plugin on that channel strip right after the first region at the end of bar 146 to bypass the distortion when the vocals enter. Okay, how do we do that? Right, well, the first thing we need to do is we need to select what we're going to actually change. So we can select here. Instead of checking pan or volume, we're going to go to Bit Crusher. Okay, what are we going to actually automate here? Well, we can automate whether it's on or off. Okay, so on the V2 string track, the insert 1 bypass automation is automatically displayed as Bit Crusher. Okay, just select Bit Crusher there, whether we want to select. Okay, but we want to select bypass, but it's not there. Let's make sure that that's in read mode. Okay, and we want to bypass it. Okay, so how do we get that? Okay, well, what we need to do is we're going to set the automation mode from read to latch. Okay, and then hopefully, no, that's not it. Right, okay. What we're going to do is we can select any part of the bit crusher there. We can select clip level and just bring the level down for the whole thing, or we can change the clip mode or do anything like that. Okay, but what we want to do is actually make sure that that comes out, that we can bypass it. Okay, so when you hear the end of the drum fill, we're going to option click the bit crusher plugin to bypass it. Okay, we can't access it from here, so we're going to start the playback here, and when we get to the end here, we're going to option click the bit crusher plugin to bypass it. Where is the bit crusher plugin? It's here. Okay, so make sure we're in latch mode. We're going to play it back here, and we're going to option click the plugin over here. Okay, so let's just play it back. And you can see immediately it creates an insert one bypass selection on your mode here. And now we can just drag that back to there. Okay, so it's bypassed at that point. Okay, and that's how we bypass a plugin. Obviously, we can bring that back in at any point we like, and you can do this with in latch mode. It has to be in latch mode, and you can do it with any of the plugins that you've got, including compression, EQ, whatever. Okay, so it enables you to control any of those parameters, and you can control any of your parameters, like I showed you before. Any of the parameters that are available in your plugins. So if we open up the bit crusher, you can see that we can actually automate any of those things: the clip level, the clip mode, downsampling, the drive, the mix, the resolution. Okay, we can do all of that. So we can change it, which is great. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at, and you're going to need to follow this on your MIDI controller keyboards. I don't have one here to show you, but we're going to look at how to use your control surfaces to control some of these parameters. Okay, so recording live automation by dragging on-screen sliders and knobs with the mouse can be a powerful means of expression, but nothing beats the real feel of a fader or a knob actually in control of your hand and your fingers, so you can get that delicate, precise movement. So this allows you to, adding a control surface allows you to map different knobs to desired channel strip or plug-in parameters like we've just done, and to remote control these parameters while you record live automation. Many supported control surfaces can be detected automatically by Logic, which also will automatically assign these faders and knobs for you if you want them to. Okay, so when the controls are not automatically mapped, for example when the control knobs are used on a MIDI keyboard that isn't a supported device, you can manually assign the physical knobs to the parameters you want to automate. Okay, and that's what you're probably going to have to do with your device. So let's look at using Automation Quick Access. This allows you to assign a single controller knob to the automation parameter that is currently displayed on the selected track. You need to assign the controller knob only once, and you can then use this to control any parameter on the track. Okay, so you just select a track and choose the desired parameter from the automation parameter menu, and that's what you adjust once you've assigned that knob or slider. Okay, so if you select track 20, which is this one, the ES2, and you start playback at the beginning of the first region around bar 79. So if we go back, there it is, around about 79 there. You may want to solo the ES2 track to clearly hear the results of your automation. So you can press S on your keyboard and that will solo that for you. So you're going to use the controller knob to create a wide pan automation on the ES2 track, creating drastic movements of the synth in the stereo field to add frenzy to this aggressive part of the song. So first you need to set up a controller knob using Automation Quick Access. So from the Arrange Area Local menu, you're going to choose Track Automation in there, and under Track Automation we're going to choose Automation Quick Access, which is there. Okay. An alert message appears as like this, asking you to assign a controller to Automation Quick Access. If a controller has already been assigned to Automation Quick Access, this alert does not appear. And choosing Track Automation, Automation Quick Access will toggle Automation Quick Access on and off. So if you didn't get that dialog box, to reassign Automation Quick Access to a new controller knob, choose Logic Pro, Preferences, Automation, and make sure that the, let's go through that again actually, let's go to Logic Pro, Preferences, Automation. Okay, and in this section here, we want to just make sure that Automation Quick Access is turned on. Okay, so where's Automation Quick Access? It is down here, Automation Quick Access, and you want to make sure that is on. Okay, and then it will show you that it's on there. Okay, and then you can close that window knowing that it's on. Okay, and then you can go back in, Track Automation, Automation Quick Access. Okay, you're going to click Assign, and when you do that, the Preferences window opens like we had a minute ago, and Automation Quick Access is turned on. And you can assign the controller knob that you want to use here. So all you need to do is move a knob or a slider on your control surface, and a help tag appears to indicate that the controller has been assigned. That's all you need to do. I can't show you on here because I don't have a control surface attached to this, but it will be obvious when you do it. Okay, so the help tag appears to indicate that the controller has been assigned, and in the Automation Preferences window, just click Done here. Okay. So then you're going to close the Automation Preferences window, or press Command W. And if you move the controller knob, giving it a wide swing to cover its entire range from the minimum to maximum positions, you will see that the volume you've got as your parameter there will then be changed by that knob. Okay. So in the inspector, the volume fader, over here in your inspector, the volume fader should follow the movements of the knob you just chose. Okay. So on the ES2 automation track, the black line representing the current volume moves in the same way. Since Automation Quick Access controls the displayed automation parameter, you need to display the pan parameter. Okay, so first make sure that the ES2 returns to its original volume, and set the volume back to minus 12 dB. Okay, so it's minus 12 dB. Okay, when you go below minus 10, by the way, on the sliders, the minus sign disappears, but we can see that's minus 12 just by the position of it. Okay, in the ES2 track header, choose pan. Okay, so you can see that. And move the controller knob until you see the pan control move on the left arranged channel strip, which would be this section here. Okay, it's where you'll see it move. Okay. And so you can see that now remotely controls it. So from the automation mode, we're going to choose touch. So up here, we're going to choose touch. And start playback before the guitar drop section. Where's the guitar drop section? Well, it starts a little bit before that. Just there, so you can zoom back to there. Okay, when the ES2 starts, move the knob left and right to generate wide pan automation. Okay, and you can see that the pan automation is recorded on the track in the same way as it would be if I was doing this using my slider like so. Except obviously yours is for your panning, and I've just done using the volume because that's what's selected on mine. Okay, so just undo that and make sure yours is selected to pan, and when you adjust your slider there, that's what it will affect. Okay, I was using pan, volume. I can do it with pan. I can set it back there. Okay, for the same effect. Okay, so so that's great. So set the automation back to read and have a listen to your results, so that it just reads it and you don't suddenly change it with any movements on the mouse or your slider, because that will change it if you're in play mode or if you're playing back in touch mode rather. Okay, so now that you have assigned a controller to automatic quick access, you can use the same controller for any parameter on any track. So try selecting another track, choosing a parameter from the automation parameter menu and automating that parameter using the same controller. Okay, and then if you want to turn that off, from the arrange area local menu you can choose track automation, and automation quick access is turned off again. Okay, the next section in this is a separate video on exporting the mix, so please find that in the list of videos and have a watch of that at your leisure. Thank you.